we're live, and you'll see how long we've been here. There we are. We are live. Let's go ahead and share around. Play the share around music. Feel free to share it in your social medias if you guys want to. You don't have to, but you are certainly welcome to. Share around. Here we go.
Just sit here quietly and wait to see whose dog makes the most noise.
There you go.
Y'all
Jason,
give me
you're
just a minute to slam open up.
Jason's winning right now.
I'm watching my dog right now, just laying down, watching me. She ain't gonna make no noise.
His wife.
I got 3 staring at me right now, wondering what I do.
Now you may hear some goats in a minute, but that's gonna be about it. Lost Jason.
Just a group of cavemen trying to do a live stream. No big deal.
There we go. Jason is back. All right, man. I'm going to roll intro, guys.
All right.
Hello, friends, fans, and followers. Welcome to the ABTA Monday Night Live, where we sit at the intersection of tracking and training, and we bring it to you the only way we know how. No nonsense, no politics. Anybody see who else has joined us here?
Yeah, Kenny came out of nowhere.
Come out of nowhere. He's swooping in like a cat burglar, man. Kenny, how are you, buddy?
I'm alive. I'm here.
Alive? Been busy lately.
Allergies are killing me.
Lost your audio.
Lost my audio. You can't hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought, Kenny, maybe you were still woke from reeling in that near state record redfish or whatever that giant mother humper was.
Yeah, I can tell you after that one, I didn't want another one.
That was a nice fish.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, enter Sam. We lost Sam. Sam is back, guys. So we see a whole host of pretty faces here. This is not a beauty contest, contrary to what it may appear. But we're going to talk about Alabama today. But
I'm kind of
before we
blinded by
do,
that. There's a glare on top of Lyle's head.
I thought it was an orb. Oh shit! Let's see here. Before we talk about Alabama, and I'm going to try to get through this because I know Lyle has a list that he must accomplish, or he will be what we would call an unhappy man when his wife gets home. So we don't want that to happen. We got to look out for our buddy Lyle. But before we kick into Alabama, I just want to brief really quick. Pennsylvania is upon us. It is the end of this month, 29th, and 30 and 31. We had a meeting last night. There are 20 plus tests. There were 20 at the meeting last night. I think I seen some registrations come in. So it is a pretty big event. The Pennsylvania team has done a great job of promoting that. So if you're interested in testing in Pennsylvania, registered now. Advanced level tests, we're on the cusp of pulling the plug on those, or shutting them off. Not the plug on, but shutting off registration because there's already 3 finished level tests, and we got 3 days, but there's plenty to do there, and the registrations are looking great. After Pennsylvania, June 12 and 13 is Michigan. We're just getting rolling on promoting the Michigan stuff. So listeners that can't make Pennsylvania and didn't make Alabama, and you're somewhere close or feel like you want to make the trip to Michigan, get registered. We are offering testing there as well as seminar, June 12 and 13. And then we're off until August. We're off until August when we make our debut showing in Tennessee.
There's a little bit of a backfeed or echo.
Yeah, these tests like Sam going to roll the dice on any of those upcoming events or what?
What's that, Lyle?
You got any elite tests gonna throw it in there like Sam did in those upcoming events yet?
No, not yet. I mean, we'll see what happens for Tennessee. I had somebody that wanted to do it in Michigan, but they here's Ryan disconnected. Nope.
Sam,
I'm coming back to Tennessee.
It looks like you want to drive to Tennessee to do the elite test. That's what I said.
Yes. I will be back in Tennessee to get it knocked
I can't
out.
hear him. I don't know if anybody else can, but
yes. Yeah, he said he'll be back in Tennessee to do it.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm trying to figure out where that backfeed's coming from.
I don't know. Maybe it's my problem. I'm moving closer to my router. I'm moving into the living room or the kitchen.
Okay, cool.
I don't get such a cool backdrop of the woods now. You get my dining room, I guess.
Yeah, that's all right. It does seem to have subsided, so I don't know if that was it or not.
I hope so.
Me too. But anyway, yeah, so Pennsylvania, May 29, 30, 31, Michigan, June 12 and 13, August in the middle of August is Tennessee. So what we're going to talk about today is Alabama. And we have Lyle Avis, the curator of the Alabama event. We have Jason,
only if you liked it,
judge and attendee, and we have Sam, who was a testee at the elite level, and you just heard him talking about going to make the trek to Tennessee to try to claim that elite title. But we're gonna talk about his elite test and let Sam tell us about it. And then Ryan Davis, if he can get his technical things squared away, he's going to join us and talk about his finish level test. So right now, let's just open it up, Lyle. Tell us about Alabama. What was the participation like? How many tests did you run, and what, to the best you can recall, and just your overall vibe for the event, buddy?
Yeah, so we did Alabama, and I was trying to figure out and trying to remember if this was 10 or 11, but I think this was the 11th year in a row that we've done the Alabama seminar on the first weekend in May. I'm pretty sure it's 11th year. So they got some new facilities out there. They put a new, I don't know, multi-million-dollar building and patio and redid everything. So for those of you who've ever been out there before and didn't go this year, it was a whole different ball game with real bathrooms and nice kitchen and big roll-up glass doors and a huge overhang. So we had facility-wise, building was great. We didn't hang out in it very often. We kind of did our intros there, and then we went right outside and dove right into a bunch of hands-on training. I tried to set it up to do something a little bit different, kind of what we've done in the past, but it's been several years since we really hit it hard like that, like we kind of are across the ABTA seminars this year. More hands-on stuff, and we went out, laid some drills. We did water crossing. We did a backtrack. We just did a regular 90, but we put a mid-track recall in the middle of it. You call your dog back in the middle, make him come sit, a lot like we do on our season finish and elite tests, where you got to recall the dog. Just kind of focused on those hands-on drills like that. A lot of stuff was things that people had done before, but maybe not put it all together.
Yeah.
Like that. And then kind of show people, like, for example, we had Mike was there, and he never wore the shoes before, right? So that was one of the questions. Who's not used the shoes? He hadn't used them. So he slapped the shoes on for a couple of tracks and got a little bit of experience in there. Then immediately went inside and bought himself a pair. He was like, I see why you guys got these shoes, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of the main focus. We had, I want to say we were right around 20 people there. So attendance was a little lighter than I would have liked to have, but it worked out good for doing that much hands-on, Test-wise, we ran 11 tests over the weekend.
Okay.
They were what, like 5 started, a couple of seasoned, and then a finished, and then for Ryan and then Sam's elite test. So I think overall it was a really good weekend, really good, just general hangout time. There you go, Ryan. I got you.
Thank you.
And if anybody disliked it, then I wasn't the guy who put it together.
Right.
If they liked it, I was the guy. If they didn't, we'll give that to Jason.
That's what I've been hearing too. That's all the feedback talked all about how great it was, all the work Lyle did, except for Jason.
Yeah, terrible. Jason's terrible.
No, I'm kidding. And I wasn't there, but I read the posts and stuff, and nothing but I didn't see anything but the real favorable feedback. So, I mean, no surprise. It sounds like you guys did a great job, and for the 11th season in a row, I would suspect you have it down by now. And Lyle, I know, as part of the prep meetings with you a little bit, which we didn't have to do a lot of prep meetings with you because, you know what you're doing, and the Alabama crew know what they're doing. So just some coordination. But you guys did great.
We had a good mix too this time of experienced guys and a handful of brand new trackers. I think we had 2 that were there that weren't even picking their dog up until like the next day or something like that new. So it was cool to be able to do those drills, have them work other people's dogs, and then sit back, provide a little commentary to everybody, and then tell everybody kind of what we're watching and what we're looking at. And they got a little bit of perspective from like the judge side, like kind of.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You could flex a little bit of your knowledge and ability to read dogs, and then kind of pass that on to people, So I liked it. I love doing the drills, which I love doing the intro tests. That's probably my favorite test too. Even though it was nice to watch Sam get out there and damn near swim across that creek and wade through the poison ivy on the elite, but I like an intro. I got a great video of me trying to like will him to fall in the water. I'm just like, fall down, Sam, fall down. Didn't happen.
Yeah, that
That,
creek was not much fun to follow behind on.
that was pretty fun. I should have realized when you guys were not following me. Should have turned
Probably
around.
sums up the overall Alabama. I'm curious to see what Sam and Ryan think about their tests. And if Jason had anything that I missed as far as the overall Alabama experience too.
No, it was all good. I think Sam
I think Matt's frozen.
didn't have favorable conditions. I think he could have done better if that wind wouldn't
Am
have
I
been
the
so
only
bad.
one? Nope, there we go.
Yeah,
What
Lyle,
is
I think you're having audio problems because everybody's talking and you're it doesn't seem like you're able to hear
Nope.
now.
I'm always the problem.
Well, I don't know about that, but
Did you get my spiel about Alabama at least?
oh
Yes.
yeah. We can hear
Alright,
you.
I was like-
I think you can't hear us. I think there's times that you're able to hear the other guys, but we can hear you fine.
Well, I'll sit back and be quiet and listen for a second.
Okay, feel free to chime in, man. Jason, what were you saying, man?
I was saying everything went good. I think Sam got a little screwed over with the weather. It could have been better. The wind dried it out so bad. I think that hurt him a little bit in that open field with the wind. Other than that, he handled the track great. The dog handled it great. He would have done fine, but that open ground with that wind, we had rain, then sunshine, then the wind, and it just got crispy dry.
Yeah, I remember that's what Landon was saying. I mean, I think Landon, I tried to get him on, but he was his son had a band concert, and obviously family comes first. But he said that he had 14 hours. Jason, he said you and him took 14 hours being soaking wet, laying lines in the rain.
Yes, sir.
And then the clouds parted and the sun shined, and it was a beautiful day on seminar day, I hear, right?
That's right.
We got a little windy. So Jason's talking about. Go ahead, Ryan.
When they asked us to come out there, to do part of the grid searches for that, we walked into that field and it was crunching already. And I even told Jason, I said, man, I feel dirty doing this. I cannot believe I'm doing this to another tracker. This feels wrong. And I stomped that track to pieces. And I was like,
I can't hear nothing.
Oh my gosh, this is bad. I feel bad. Sorry, Sam, but you don't.
It's all
good, man.
It's all good. It was fun.
Jason, that's weird that you can't hear Ryan. We could hear him just fine. Everybody else could, so I'm not sure why you could hear him. But he was just saying he felt bad stomping up Ryan's line out there with got all crispy. But so what we're talking about, and we're kind of, I don't want to get the cart too far in front of the horse, but for those listening, Ryan ran the elite test, and part of that elite test is part of that elite test. I got your message, Lyle. That's strange. Part of that elite test is a grid search part of the line. As part, and it's the same way on the finish test. There's a section of the finish line that is grid searched. That is that's just part of the gig. We've all went to tracks, probably more than any hunter's willing to tell us in the season that that have been grid searched. It just happens. We've talked a lot about here and elsewhere on how to manage grid searches, but you don't get much of an opportunity to manage them on the test the way we talk about them when you have some control. The test, you don't have control. We set it up so you don't have, very intentionally. And it's just all part of the gig, man. And I will tell you, on my finish line, the grid search, it smoked my dog pretty good. And then right after the grid search came my property stop, and I blew it there on my finish test at the property stop, and timed out and took my dog forever to get back in gear. So, but we're not here to talk about me. So let's talk, if you guys don't mind, just in the order of testing sequence. I'd be interested in hearing, Ryan, just tell us about your elite test, or I mean your finish test. How did you prepare for it? How did you feel going into it? And then what were you thinking as you went through the finish level test, and then ultimately, at the end, what did you learn? How do you think you can apply it? All of that kind of stuff. Even though, I mean, spoiler alert, Ryan didn't pass the test, but it's not that he failed. I will never say somebody failed the test. I might say they didn't pass the test, but that doesn't mean you didn't get a whole bunch of good stuff out of it. And Ryan, we had a little bit of a conversation, and so I know you're feeling pretty good about some of what you got out of it. So I'd be interested in you just sharing that with us, buddy.
Yeah, when I was preparing Sam for the test, I mean, a lot of it was just letting him run live tracks this past hunting season. And then after hunting season, I started specifically laying it for the test, doing all the 90s that I could, trying to go
Can you
across
guys hear
varied
him? I can't
terrain.
hear him.
Can y'all hear
Yeah,
me?
I can hear him just fine. We are having just some odd technical matters, but I can
Yeah,
hear him fine.
that's weird. Yeah. Okay.
Just, trying to go across as much varied terrain as I could, laying it when the scent conditions were absolute trash. Um, so when I got there, I was actually feeling very good about it. But then I let my nerves get a hold of me.
Don't we all?
And if I can say anything to anybody ever, when you get to the finished and especially the elite, one, when you get there, treat it as any track you do every day. And also, if you think the judges won't do something, they will. They will they will go the opposite direction you think. They will do anything because it is testing you and that dog. So,
So am I hearing you say trust your damn dog?
yeah, yeah. Actually, after the grid search part, Sam did great. He
How,
went through the distractions. Jason even drug a stinky old coon and a couple of dead squirrels across it, and we went right through that. But it was starting off, and I didn't control the track at the beginning because I went into it as a test instead of a live track. What I should have done is just been like a regular live track and told everybody to stay back, and I didn't. And they were standing right on the line, and it was throwing Sam off. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but you didn't know where the line was, so
nope. And I never would have thought that would have been the exact direction that we walked in on.
no, no,
Yeah, they threw me a curveball. I give it to them. That's a great test.
that's
I
the
mean, it's
scoundrel stuff
testing you
there.
and your dog. And Sam didn't fail. I did.
I think that's pretty common. I failed my dog. On my finish level for sure. Um, Boy, we got people dropping like flies. It's these cell phone people. What's probably happening is they're probably getting text messages. Sam, you're probably getting calls or messages that are switching your audio.
Well, I just switched from 5G to Wi-Fi, and I seem to actually hear everybody now.
Oh, good. Okay.
So I don't know what the deal was, but I didn't hear anything earlier that you were saying, Ryan.
That's all right, buddy.
Yeah, he just recapping. So Ryan, how early in your track was your grid search? Right away, wasn't it?
Then it was find the line in a grid search.
In the grid search, yeah. Well, how many times do we do that in the real world? A lot.
A lot, and that's like I said. If I hadn't have walked into it treating it like a test, if I'd have walked into it like a live track, this would be a whole totally different outcome.
Well, so let's talk about that if you don't mind. And I don't want to press. So if I'm going somewhere you're not comfortable talking about, just
No,
say,
you're
yeah,
fine.
no, how would you have approached it differently? So you approached it with how would you have done it differently if you would have approached it as a real track and not a test line?
I'd have made everybody stay back at the vehicles until I got him started.
Okay. Instead, what happened is everyone was gathered around in the start area, right?
Yep, and they were standing on top of the line, and I let my nerves get a hold of me, which now I know can't do that.
Yeah. Well, that happens, man. It's very common. So did you timed out then? Is that what you do?
I timed out in forward progression. Landon went ahead and let me go through the rest of the track, and
Yep.
if Jason will chime in here in a minute, he can tell you Sam did great the rest of the track.
So on the finish line, just for the folks playing along at home, the finish line allows for 90 minutes. You have 90 minutes, an hour and a half to finish the line.
Right.
So you timed out. I timed out on mine too, by the way.
Well,
I
it's
timed out
10
on
minutes to do forward progression at the beginning.
Yep, and that's standard. So at any level, failure to progress for a period of 10 minutes is considered a callback. So you can get a callback for being 40 or 75 yards off the line, depending whether you're on lead or off lead, or you can get a callback for failure to progress after a period of 10 minutes.
And if Jason can chime in, you could tell once they told me that I was timed out and I could finish the test, my nerves calmed down, and Sam immediately went over to the line and picked it up.
Yeah, he looked at us and started talking and just chilled out, and then the dog went to work.
Once I felt the pressure was off, it's like, all right, whatever. You just started being you, didn't you, Ryan?
Yeah,
Yep.
he's like, well, Daddy ain't upset no more. Let's just go run this, and he just took off.
Yeah, and that's a great example. We talk about that all the time. And it's really interesting. I've been listening to some man trailing podcasts and stuff. In fact, I shared one. I took segments of it, shared Houndsman XP with Jeff Shetler, which I really like him. And he was talking about stuff in how scent degrades and all of the stuff that we kind of know, but it's nice to hear it again and hear it from a different perspective. But talking about just those nerves, it's a chemical change. The dogs do sense it, smell it, whatever, whatever it is. And so that cortisol or whatever the heck it is that's being emitted, those dogs can pick up on that and say, "Ooh, okay, so maybe I'm supposed to be nervous here," and it's hard to suppress that. So it's a real thing. It is absolutely a real thing. That's interesting. So your biggest takeaway from that line. So after that, so how about the scent gap, Ryan? How did Sam do on the scent gap?
He went right through it like it wasn't even there.
Really?
And it was that was one of my biggest worries.
Man, it was mine too. I never made it to mine.
He Jason was behind me. He was watching. He kind of waved, just left and right a little bit, but he went right through it.
If I can jump in,
Yeah.
Something I've noticed on laying mock tracks, and this might have been true with yours there, Ryan. When there's a lot of wind, the wind blows it away from pulling up in like a low area like that or a scent gap, and they just kind of just stay in the same line until they pick up something. At least that's the way mine has acted in the past, so that might have been the same situation with yours.
Yeah, Sam, that's kind of actually exactly the way he acted. He only went left and right just a little bit, and then he just picked right back up on it. It was just when he got to that stinky old coon Jason had drug across there that stumbled him for a minute.
Sam, what type of dog do you run?
Catahoula.
Catahoula. And Ryan, we didn't talk about it, but you run bloodhounds, so
Oh, yeah.
you know. We know it wasn't the dog's fault.
No,
I
it was
don't
not
know.
the
Do you
dog's
see
fault.
a common theme here?
Yeah.
Come on, Mullins.
Yeah,
You know I had to unmute for that.
Oh, I knew. I was waiting for it. I've been sitting here the whole time. He said he's going to take a jab at me.
Yeah, here it comes. And poor narrow-minded me didn't even see that one coming. So, well,
Hey, Jason the
good
Texas
shot,
Sam
Kenny.
was other than that little tickle dog. He was a crowd favorite.
That's right.
Well, I tell you what, bloodhounds are. I have a seasonal campground, and geez, oh Pete, so I take her for a walk, and everybody just goo goo gagas over the bloodhound.
So who laid Ryan's line?
Me and Landon.
Okay. So is that why he found pieces of crayon along the trail?
They was coming out of my back pocket.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh shoot, that's funny.
Now I'll tell you, it was even though we didn't pass, it was fun. I learned a lot. It was a real good time. I had a lot of fun that weekend.
Yeah, I would tell you, I learned a lot on mine too. Very specific. I don't know if learned a lot's the right word. I learned some very important things. Very significant things, and it was great. Obviously, you're a little disappointed that you didn't walk away with the blue ribbon, but you know what? The lesson is where the value is, and my lesson was invaluable. So, and I didn't finish mine out. We had to get back to the event, but that's cool that you were able to finish yours out and see your dog do the work that it's bred to do.
Yeah, it was good. As soon as Landon said, "Hey," he said, "You timed out, but if you want to finish the track," I'm like, "Oh yeah, we finishing this." That's what I came here to do. I want to see the rest of this track and how it's laid out.
Yeah.
And Jason's walking by me. He's like, "Boy, when he's having trouble, you can tell it, but he's beautiful when he's on it."
Yeah.
And he, to me, he did the rest of the track just phenomenal. I ain't mad at the dog because it wasn't the dog, it was me.
Yeah. So Corbin Browning says you can't forget the Streamlight. What's the Streamlight story?
22 long rifle.
Yeah.
Ah.
They asked what it was shot with. 22 long rifle.
Oh, so you guys are using a high power 22 because in Oklahoma the hunter shot his with a 22 short.
Wow.
You guys are using high power 22 calibers.
He asked that I use a spotlight, and I said no, I use a Streamlight.
Well, there's the difference. That's what the Oklahoma guy said. I said, man, he lit up pretty nice in my spotlight. He says, so you were using this, you were shining the deer? I says, no, I was just using the light to help see better. Yeah, that's right. And that's part of the fun, just coming up with those crazy scenarios and stories.
That was part of it with Landon going into Sam's test and him talking about the tickle dog and the 6.5 PRC because it's got power.
Oh goodness.
Man, that's funny. Well,
you went on mute there, Ryan. I don't know what's going on, but you went on mute.
Your cat muted. There you go. There you go, bud.
Yeah, going from the 6.5 PRC to the 6.5 Creedmoor, and just he had me chuckling, and I was trying to keep a straight face so I didn't juggle Sam around, and I was like, "Good God, man! You
That's
judges have to come up with some stuff."
that's
I
the
mean,
whole
y'all,
He had
y'all
me.
got
He had me laughing pretty good too.
yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
told them as we was going, I was telling all them, I was like, there's no way I could keep it together with all this going on. There's no way. I mean, my dog would just have to go, and then I'm laughing with them. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like I told you, I said, man, I feel dirty doing this. This is
that's
bad.
all he said when we was stomping that grass down. Man, this is dirty. I said, yeah, we do this on a lot of these tracks. I said,
Oh,
we want
goodness.
them to pass, but then again, we're trying to make them fail at the same time.
Yeah, you don't want them to fail. You just want them to earn it, right? Now, Ryan.
It just felt
Sam.
bad, man. I was stomping that track to pieces, and I was like, "Oh my God, I feel bad."
That's okay, because Sam was chuckling his tail off when he was stomping yours up, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Goodness.
But
Oh,
look,
when he
man,
drunk that stinky coon across it, I knew what he was thinking. He's like, I'm fixing to get that bloodhound. No, you didn't.
no, you didn't. Yeah, that's fun stuff, man. And I might have to try to make Alabama next year. It sounds like too much fun. I would tell you, Lyle was talking about the facility, and I'd only heard about Alabama before. I've never been there. I've seen some pictures, but holy smokes, did that facility look like state of the art, man? In terms of, for what we're doing, looked like it was just a first rate facility.
That facility is very, very nice. Compared to what it used to be, oh my gosh.
Wasn't it just
Yeah.
an open air pavilion before?
Pretty much.
So the story behind it used to be a state prison.
Oh,
And,
really?
Yeah, I guess it was probably 3-4 years ago. They actually started tearing down the prison building. It was interesting. The property is beautiful.
Yeah.
Kenny, I can give a little bit of backstory on it. It was a state prison. The prisoners ran the cattle on the ranch.
Yep.
And
Oh, is that right?
there was a time when one of the prisoners apparently had an issue with the warden and went to his house and killed him. And that's when they shut it down.
Oh, my Lord. When
And
was that?
Oh, it was, I want to say in the early 80s.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
And it stayed shut down for a long time. And then the state of Alabama absorbed it and they made it into that field trial area. And then they've started rebuilding it and making it better to where like the pavilion and the building we were in this past weekend compared to the last year is 100-fold different.
Yeah. Oh, it looked beautiful. The pictures where everyone was taking their hero shots in front of that with the ABTA sign in front of the facility sign. It just looked sweet. I thought Oklahoma's facility was awesome, and it was. It dang sure was.
No, this
man,
place,
we'll get up there.
it's nice. It's Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like 4,000 acres.
Yeah.
And it's open fields, creek bottoms. There's wooded land. I mean, when it comes to being able to lay tracks on varied terrain, you got it.
Yeah, I will say one of the challenges there is a lot of the areas you can lay a line and see where that line was laid. So you have to be strategic.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where they throw them grid searches in and they drag your critter tracks across to throw you off because you can't use that, buddy. I can just tell you.
Ryan, you ran off lead, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's there. Talk about it in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, I do 90% off lead during hunting season, but there is times because of Eglin and Conecuh that I do on lead, which I've worked with the dog doing that, so it's not an issue. But it's at times when he gets a little excited getting skull drugged by a 90-pound bloodhound that it's not fun.
Believe me, I've been there. I hook up as little as only when necessary anymore. I hate on lead. Now I'm doing some training on lead for some very specific purposes, but whoo, baby, when it's time to go find the deer, that
I can
lead.
promise you, this one I started training him off lead. The next one will be started on lead,
Smart
just
move.
to prevent that skull dragging.
Yeah.
Because when they get excited on the track and you're tied to that lead, I mean, it's bad.
Yeah. How old is Sam?
He will be 3 on the 20th.
So he's young.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brew will be 5 in August. And when I do hook her up, she doesn't pull anywhere near like she did when she was 1 and 2. I don't hook her up much anymore. I mean, she'll be tight line, but she's not dragging me through every knot hole and rat hole. That's for sure. So maybe some of that will come with age. But yeah, like Kenny said, I'm training my new pup and starting her on lead. So
Hey, we did quite a few this year that were on lead to where he never pulled the slack out of the lead.
yeah,
It was
okay.
just one, or I don't know if it was because the deer was in rut or what, but we stepped out of the truck and I didn't know we were on the line. And I'm getting him hooked up, and as soon as he hit the ground, he took off like a rifle shot.
Mm.
And the only thing that kept me to him was I had a knot tied in the end of the rope or the lead.
Oh yeah, the old bloodhound knot, huh?
And here we went 697 yards by the time I got my feet under me at a full run.
Well,
And I was like, what just happened? And he slid to a stop and he just looked over to his left and there's the deer.
yeah,
And it ended up being the biggest deer we found this year. It was that for our area, it was an absolute monster.
yeah. That's cool. That's way cool. So your big takeaway: manage the test like you would a real test line. Other than that, the dog work was great, and and
Do not walk in there like it's a test. We're going to find a deer for somebody.
yep, cool. Sam, you want to talk us through your elite?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's see. Hold on a second. Let's set this up a little bit. So I think, let me see, Daryl, Jeff.
I don't see Lyle on anymore. Is he still on?
No, he dropped off.
Okay.
He dropped off. Let's see. Can you help me out here? Daryl, Jeff, Kayla, and Sam. Daryl, Jeff, Kayla, Sam. So those are the only elites we've ever ran, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Sam, you're number 4. You're
Well,
number 4 on the elite test, man. So
there's coming a pass come August. It's happening.
it's happening. Well, I plan to be there. So before we and Ryan, I want to go back to you too because I forgot to get your tracking bio. Lyle, Sam's pre-track briefing was spot on, textbook. Sam, give us your tracking. Your 60-second tracking bio. How long you been doing it? What are you tracking with? How, blah blah blah. What's your off season look like? All that stuff.
So my dog's name's Rue. She'll be 4 on May 22nd. My anniversary with my wife. So she's actually born on my anniversary, which is cool.
Helps you remember your anniversary, doesn't it? Smart.
That's right. There you go. I started training her about 7 weeks old, and she just picked up. She was natural at it, and I had no idea what I was doing. But we went through UBT 1 and 2, transitioned over to ABT 1, 2, and 3. Completed those, no fails through all those tests. She did really good. I was really young, green at the whole process, learned through it all. Did a really good job. Kenny was a great mentor through some of those as well. And just I've been laying mock tracks with her all season long. I even do it during season, which is weird. I don't know why. Mainly because I don't get a lot of calls. throughout the season, and I don't track Facebook like a lot of crazy people do. I just don't have time for it. But there we have a lot of really great trackers up here, and trying to compete with people that are seasoned and well versed in what they're doing is difficult when you're new. And so because of that, I get probably a portion of the tracks that they get, and so because of that, I have to lay mock tracks just to keep my dog active throughout the tracking season.
Sam, where are you from, buddy?
I guess northeast Alabama, Bluntsville area, close to Gunnersville, Huntsville. If you're familiar with any of that.
Okay, cool. So northeast Alabama,
Yeah.
and where's your Catahoula from?
Weirdly enough, not from a tracking breed at all, or not tracking breeder. She was just breeding Catahoulas, and the dog looked very similar to a Catahoula I had years ago when I was in the military that passed away. That was a best friend of mine. And always told my wife, I was like, look, if I ever find another dog that looks like her, I'm getting her. And she sent me a picture one day of this puppy, and it looked just like her. So I purchased her, and I still, at the time of purchase, I still had no idea that I was going to be training her to track deer. And shortly after I got her, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to start training her to track deer. And she did awesome. So.
Well, it certainly sounds like you mow down your UBTs, 1s and 2s, your ABTA started, seasoned, and finished like it's nobody's business. And we're about to hear all about your elite test with color commentary from Jason and Ryan, who tagged along. So you see, you don't go on many tracks. What is your average? What do you think you average? How many do you go on last year?
I go on about 10 to 15 a season, which is pretty low comparatively.
I mean, it's not nothing, but you got sounds like you got a once in a lifetime dog there, dude.
I know. Yeah, she does great. So, we have a lot of teams that are different than just your standard find a dead deer. We have teams that are good teams that have multiple dogs that can track down deer and hold them down and do what they got to do. Baying teams, I guess you'd say. And and I don't know what the situation is here, but a lot of them seem to call. A lot of the hunters seem to call the people that they've used the most. And I'm pretty new to that. And so I'm not on their radar most of the time, which is fine. And I'm friends with a lot of the good people around here, and so I've learned from a lot of them. I've tracked with a lot of them. As a matter of fact, I've even called them on some of our tracks because I had deer that were still alive, and I knew my dog was not up to the challenge of doing other than finding the dead deer, and my deer was not dead. So
I very much prefer to track 2 dead deer than run one down. In bloodhound, you just don't. They're just not run down dogs,
right?
Anymore, but.
Absolutely. So that's kind of what I fight with quite a bit up here, and we have a lot of really good trackers up here. I can name names. Kyle is probably one of the biggest names that's up here, and he's been on our Facebook Live in the past. And he's phenomenal. He's got a lot of really great dogs. Matter of fact, I consider him my mentor. I don't know if he considers me my mentor or me as a mentoree, but he has taught me quite a bit, and I'm proud to be a friend of his and learn so much from him. But we have a lot of really good guys here, and so because of that, and because of me being new, I get quite a few, quite a bit less than they do.
Did you say you don't use Facebook?
I do use Facebook, but I don't track it. Yeah, I don't track it like a lot of people. I'm not on it all season long. And so if I'm not lucky enough to be on there at the right time, I see a post, I'm pretty much not going to get the track.
I got you. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it takes time, man. Once you start getting out and finding, and Shannon says that Shannon Blocker says he's referred many to Sam that I could not get to. He's a good pup dog. Trust your dog. So
yes, yeah, Shannon is as another mentor. I work with him. I've tracked with him in the past, and I've helped him and worked with him with his dogs. He's awesome. That we have so many good people here that are trackers. It's hard to compete with, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And and you're not competing. You're just working together, and your day, your time will come. Especially if your dog is able to is that capable. It'll come, man.
Right.
It'll come. So I want to back up though, because I said something that may have seemed a little cold, and I didn't mean for it when I said you got a once in a lifetime dog. I didn't mean to sound like you're not putting in the work. So your dog is being successful because it does have ability, but you're developing that dog's ability. So I just that was bugging me ever since I said it. I don't want anybody to think, man, you're a jerk. You think he's not training his dog? No, you are clearly your dog.
I didn't take it that way. You're good, Matt.
No, I know, but just I had to say that because it just sounded to me it sounded insensitive. That's one of the it's just one of my little quirks. So okay, so averaging 10, going on 10 tracks a year, and you're freaking mowing down test lines and attacked an elite. I gotta hand it to you, dude. I legitimately have got to hand it to you. That's quite something. So tell us about your elite, man. I will tell you this. So let's replicate it. Lyle says Sam's pre-track briefing was spot on, textbook. Tell us about your pre-track briefing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I take these mock tracks or these test tracks just like I do a real track. If it doesn't work the same way I would do a real track, then I don't see it as legit, and so I handle it the same way. And so I ask the same questions that I do when I go on a real track. I think one of the biggest kickers was, I made sure that the area that we were tracking in was going to be clear, and I didn't want my dog tracking through anything that was going to be an additional challenge that wasn't necessary. And so, they had people out there searching, doing the various things that you might see in an elite test. And I've asked for them to all come back. And I wanted to make sure my dog had a clear view of traffic, or clear view, and nothing in front of her to distract her, as well as myself, And, anytime you can minimize your distractions for yourself or the dog, it's going to just help, elevate your chances for success. And so I asked all the questions I would normally ask in a track, anything about the shot, about blood, placement, how you saw the deer react, anything about how long ago it was shot to, do you have anybody out there that was grid searching, anything that you would want to ask, I asked it.
Yeah.
You want to go into these tracks, treating it very similar to a real track. And then, you want to react to the track, the same way you would a real track. If you don't want anybody out there with firearms, you don't want anybody out there, walking with their dog or tracking with their dog or anything else. You want to make sure you minimize any obstacles as you possibly can.
Yep, I would agree with that. And I'm not ignoring you. I am poking my phone, but I'm pulling up your line. I had the privilege of seeing your line as part of the approval process. So I'm just pulling it up to look at it right now, and so I know some of the challenges and where they were at, and it was fun. It was fun walking through the construction of that line with Lyle and Landon and Ralph and Kayla.
Yeah.
It was it was a lot of fun. So so go ahead, man. Tell us all about it. What was your mindset going in? Because I think it's huge. Ryan talked about his, and just kind of got inside his own head. Me too, by the way. Don't feel like I'm a stranger, Ryan. What was your frame of mind? What was your mindset, your thought process going in to the elite?
Well, I've always struggled with wind in any track. And I looked at the weather and I saw the weather that we were going to have. And I was like, it's going to be really windy. And I was like, you know what? This is going to suck, honestly. And rain, I don't care about, length of time. I've tracked 48 hours plus before, and my dog's tracked it like it's not been a problem at all. I've gone through the middle of rain. I've gone in the rain. I've gone after a monsoon. it's just there's never been a concern for her except for when it's windy, and she likes to win things. That's her biggest fault is she wants to win the end result. So she's constantly sticking her head in the air. She's trying to smell what the finish line is like, whether it's a dead deer or whatever. And trying to train that out of her is almost impossible. I'm not going to be able to. I'm just going to have to read her the better, the best as I can when I see it, and try to put her back on something that she can smell on the ground. But that was my biggest concern. And unfortunately, when we got out there and it started, the wind was still 15 mile an hour plus. Gusts were, I don't know, between 15 to 20, sustained between 10 to 15. And we started off in really high grass, and it was waist high for me, above her head. And I joked around a little bit. I was like, it was as similar to watching the Nintendo game Duck Hunt, where you see the dog running through the weeds or the woods, and also you see it jump up.
I
And
remember you saying that on the
yeah,
on the line when she was bouncing, poking
yeah,
her
and
head up above the wheat.
it was like constantly jumping and bouncing just to try to smell above the wheat. And I was like, hopefully she'll still put her nose to the ground and just actually smell the ground. But she didn't. She just kept wanting to smell the air. And I'm like, oh, come on, Rube. No. And so I think that's what kicked us to begin with is, we tried to find the starting line, and we missed the very beginning where they started it. And we ended up skipping it and going to the actual jump site that would have been the second option on the test.
I
And
was just going to ask you that. So, did you choose to? Because on the elite test, you have a choice. And just to remind listeners at home that the elite test is a continuation of a started line that we've actually used, legitimate started test line. A dog must have run that line. And then the elite test picks up after that. And the handler has a choice to start at the beginning or really anywhere on the started line, or he can go to the simulated jump site where the new part of the elite line starts. So what did you choose to do?
I choose to start at the hit site. Rue likes to, from what I can tell, working with her over the years, is she likes to build a story, and I like to learn the story from her of where she picks up and how she reacts to it. She tells me a lot, and I'm actually able to read a lot from her when we start a track at the hit site. And so that's where I wanted to start with. I wanted to see how she reacted, where she went. So we went to where we thought the hit site was, and she ignored it. And I was like, well, okay. So I just let her work. And we started off lead. We had the option. I let her start off lead, and she actually went toward where the jump site area was, I guess. And she picked up on the line initially. And then that's where it became pretty difficult, is because not far off of the started line, from what I actually saw after they laid it and they showed me kind of what it looked like. She picked up on it at that jump site, and she ran it for a short while, and then she kind of started drifting, and that's where she started winding things because of the high grass and the wind. And that's where it became really difficult for me.
This is a perfect time to read Lyle's comment that literally just popped in. Wind gusts would blow her off the track, then stop, which left her 30 to 40 yards off the line, making her have to switch back to search mode, only to have the wind pick back up. It was kind of a nightmare, he says.
That was
what a lot of us saw. And it would take Sam would be walking towards her, so it almost made it look like he was pushing her. But he wasn't intending to. He's just following the dog. And it just, y'all got to the first call back, and that's what it was. Just that wind, it would just pick up, then it would lay down, pick up, lay down. Rue was doing, in my eyes, she was doing great. Once y'all got in the creek bottom, she really took off with it.
Totally different terrain. So
yeah.
Okay, so you got to the jump site, and then what?
So we started going toward the direction that they actually walked, and I think that first area past the jump site was the grid search area. And she struggled.
Sorry, buddy.
It was.
No, it's all good. She
Sorry.
struggled pretty difficult right there. You had the grid search as well as you had the strong wind, you had the high wheat field, and so everything was just really difficult. I didn't read it as good as I could have. On a real track, I feel like we would have been fine, honestly, because you know on a on these mock tracks or these test tracks, you do have a certain area where you can go only so far off of the real track before you get
Yeah.
called back, and there's a purpose for that, and I understand it. But in a real track, I'm going to search really far out and wide. I'm going to let her go and search, and I can kind of read where she actually picks up the real line. And so there was a point where she started tracking to the right from the line, and I let her go. I wanted her to go all the way to the tree line, but the tree line from where the track was far enough to get the first recall. That was my goal, was to let her get to that point to see if she could pick up anything. And I was going to walk her back along the edge of the property line to see if she could actually pick up the real true line. And when she got to that close to that tree line area, we got our first recall there. And I was like, well, that's on me. But in a real live situation, I would not have balked. I'd have let her continue to go for it and just see where she picks up. And then if she didn't show that she was really on it, I was going to pull her back eventually, anyways. And so we pulled her back and we let her work the other side and continue to work. And she did about the same thing. And she worked a little bit too far out. And I put her on lead at that point in time. So our distance from the line was no longer the 70-foot or 75-foot, whatever distance it was. It was shorter. And so we got further out because I was walking with her to try to get her to pick up on the line. And it was just really difficult during the high grass. And then it went from high grass to short grass to a property line boundary at that point in time. And it was just really difficult to really pick up where that exact line was at that place. So we got 2 callbacks within the first grid search area, not far after that, so it didn't give us a lot of wiggle room at that point to make mistakes.
Yeah. So did you time out? Is that
eventually? Yes, we timed out. I think it was 6 minutes past the timeout period.
Oh my gosh! You got to the end 6 minutes late.
Yeah.
That's on the elite test. I call that freaking razor thin.
Yeah. Yeah. So once we got past the second callback, we got to an area that was kind of a creek bottom area. And she hit the creek and she followed the creek really, really well. I don't know if we hit the exit exactly on the right spot. I'm not sure from where they laid it fully. But when we came up out of the creek, the way the wind was blowing, there was some tree line right there. And then on the other side of the tree line, there was like a swampy area. And so I feel like, and I may be wrong, I feel like the wind pushed that scent into that tree line just enough where she felt like the scent was there because she loves to win things and she followed it. Well, when she followed it there,
probably was there.
Yeah, it's possible. And so when she followed it there, of course, on the other side was a swamp area. So it was another low line area with a lot of water, and she followed it. Well, we got there, and I let her follow it off lead. I took her off lead. They said, "Hey, if you trust your dog, you think your dog is on it, let her off lead." So I said, "Well, she works better off lead." So I took her off lead, and she worked through an area that I think Lyle has video of me almost above knee high water. Like my boots were soaking. Like I was deep in the water. I was waiting on a water moccasin or a copperhead or something just to do something. I hated it, honestly.
Yeah.
But we let her work, and when she got out of that swamp area, she hit to grassy area again, and she checked up and she started looking at me, and I started watching her. I'm like, "There's no scent here." I was like, before I give up on her, I wasn't sure that this wasn't a scent gap area, being from experience and doing the, other tracks in the past, thinking that maybe they came out of here and there was an immediate scent gap. So I let her work out a little bit further than I normally would have. And when I did, they called us back the third time, and that was our fail.
Yeah,
And I was like, "Oh man!" And honestly, just before I called her back, I was like, I was about to tone her and say, "Let's go ahead and cross back across the swamp area," but I was like, "I'm just going to let her work a little bit just to see," because honestly, I didn't see those guys following me, and that's what I was telling Lyle before. Is I should have realized if they wouldn't follow me, this probably wasn't the way they were going, because there was a lot of water.
No,
But
we saw that poison oak in there, and I wasn't going through them bushes. I was going to sit right there on that creek bank and be happy.
Well,
it was pretty nasty, honestly.
Lyle, Landon, Jason, pay attention. We're going to have a little coaching moment here because you got to go, or if he's wrong or not, you got to follow him.
My
When he
dog
started in knee
I
deep water,
wasn't
I was
going
like,
because
this is
that
kind of where
stuff
we
was
just hang
ugly.
up right here.
Well, either way, I didn't recognize it until after the track was done that they didn't follow me. I was in the zone at the point at the time. And anyways, so they called us back, and I was like, well, I recognize it. I probably should have came back anyways, but I was wanting her to work a little bit more just to see for sure. We worked our way back, and as soon as we got back to the line before we hit into that tree line, she hit it perfectly again, and she followed it, and she traced it all the way, no problem, all the way to the critter challenge that we had. We had a possum out there in a cage, and she's done really well avoiding critters. And when she went to this little creek drainage, I saw her jump back, and I could have sworn she came up on a snake the way she reacted. I've seen her walk on snakes before and see how she backtracks. She avoids them. I did really good snake avoidance training with her early on, and so the way she reacted was just like she came across a snake. So I thought we really were on a snake in the track. And so I let her work, and she worked back to me for a second, and I leaned over and I saw that it was a possum.
Yeah, that possum about stood her on her nose when she
it,
started into that ditch.
it did. It was pretty funny. But all I did is I told her one time. She came right back to me. I told her to leave it, and she ignored it. She jumped across the creek and went on, and I followed her behind it. And so that was a good challenge. But like I said, it wasn't nothing that she hasn't experienced before. We've come across so many critters in the past with real tracks, and even on mock tracks. Incidentally, we've come across critters all the time, and so she's done really good avoiding them for the most part. So, and then we came across some boundary points. Throughout the whole track, we can went on lead, off lead, on lead, off lead. I kind of do that based on the way she's acting. She seems to get really comfortable when I put her on lead because that's how I initially trained with her. She does really good off lead as well, but when she's uncertain about things or the wind's off and it just is not like the perfect line, she does get nervous and she's not quite sure. So I put her on lead, and it gives her a little bit more confidence where she starts to really put her nose back down again. And so I did that a handful of times. She never checks up. She doesn't change the way she tracks on lead or off lead for the most part. She still tracks. She still has the same drive. So I'm blessed to have that, at least with her, that I can go off and on without any problem, which is good. We came across the boundary point, had to go around some boundaries. That was an interesting challenge for me, but for her, she was just waiting to get back on it again. And so that was good. And then we picked back up on the line again after the boundary challenge. And I think at that point, the way the wind was blowing, once again, it was in her face where she could smell it. And so the wind would pick up, she'd smell it. So she would start jumping and smelling again. And then it would die down. And the more she did that, the more she was off the track. And it made it difficult for me to know the right direction. Besides, I knew the area that the scent was coming from, but I didn't want to be the type of tracker that pulled her toward it. I wanted her to find it. And so she was either going to find it on her own or she wasn't. And so I just kind of let her work as slow as she could. And the only time she would really progress forward is when the wind would blow. And she would smell it and she would go forward again, and then she would stop. And then she would go forward and then she would stop. And we worked that way all the way to about pretty close to the end. And then she eventually found the hide.
That's interesting. Wow. Haven't heard somebody describe the dog acting that way. Just waiting for the scent plume to waft back and across your nose.
Yeah.
So the property boundary, there should have been two. One of them you're okay because you were already on lead. But how did you handle the one? How did you handle the one where you weren't allowed to cross?
Yeah.
What was your thought process there?
So I've actually came across that a few times in real life, and so my biggest thing is to be as kind to them and kill them with kindness, because not all the time have they been, kind people and not wanting to let you track. And so the simulation was very similar to what I've seen, where the person just didn't want you on their property at all. And so I tried to reason with them a little bit and see if they'd be willing to let me track with them and let them come along with us. That way, we didn't feel like, or they didn't feel like we were doing anything that was not
Yeah.
okay in their eyes, and still wasn't okay. And so essentially, they just gave us the areas of where their boundaries were and what we were allowed to track within. And so I worked within that boundaries. I was respectful to them, appreciated their, their insight on where their boundaries were, and we essentially just walked that direction and walked down the line of their boundaries to hopefully pick back up on the scent trail. And that wasn't easy to get her to pick up on where it came out of their boundaries. We had to get a little bit of guidance at one point in time, because I don't know if we were past it or before it, but either way, it was not easy to pick back up on that exact trail, because at that point she was already winding that end result, because we were not far from it and the wind was blowing in the favor to where we could smell it, or she could smell it. And so trying to get her to pick up on an actual line versus where the scent was not the easiest.
How far was? Because I'm looking at the line right now, and I'm having. How far was the boundary challenge to the end to the hide, roughly?
Oh, I don't know exactly. I want to say a couple hundred yards, probably 300 or 400 yards, maybe.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I would guess it to be here. Um, yeah, so Lyle says you shut old Alan Barrett down with a handshake and a smile, and boy, was there a lot of fun and gee whizzing about Alan being a grouchy guy.
Oh yeah.
On
I
the
didn't
line.
realize it was Alan. That could be, whew.
Hey,
It was
they
Alan,
picked
yeah.
the perfect guy for that. There's
That's
no
what I've
doubt.
heard. I've never met him, but that's what I've heard. I got to play the grouchy guy in the Michigan Elite, and man, that's fun.
Hey, no offense, Alan, if you're watching. I love you, buddy, but they picked the perfect guy for that one.
Well, you worked him over apparently.
Well, I'll say this: Alan's had a lot of experience with them. With
Oh, yeah.
landowners.
I can imagine.
Yeah, he come in hot.
So yeah, so okay, so Jason, short of you guys giving up the whole gig with you and Landon and Lyle standing there holding hands instead of following your handler and giving up the whole gig, and I'm teasing about that, of course. When Kalal says that the judges aren't going swimming, take your snorkel and flip in next time, Lyle. But from your perspective, Jason, as an observer on the line, what comments do you have? What were your observations?
Exactly what Sam was saying. The field worked him over pretty good. And the way I believe the wind, just like he was saying, blew that scent in that creek bottom. She came out, like he said, just perfect. But she thought that deer was over there. Well, that scent was definitely there, because, I mean, it was no denying that she was on it. And we was just sitting there like, oh, my gosh, she's going to do it. Well, then she just kept carrying it, and that's exactly how the wind was blowing. So other than that, man, she did great. Sam did great. Like he said, in the bottom, in that creek bottom, once she got called back, she hit that just like it was, shot an hour ago. She went on her way, and it was all, I mean, good work, both of them.
Yeah. And I guess the other qualifier I put out there for those listening is the elite line is 24 to 36 hours old. So,
but honestly, that's not even the biggest challenge. It's
no, I agree.
It's a mental strain on the handler.
100%, Kenny. But I wanted to give that grant because we know that 24 hours is just not a big deal for most dogs, particularly if they have a season or two under their belt. But you're right. The challenges set up there. There are some dog challenges built in, but there's very intentionally a lot of handler challenge. Hence the Alan is the cranky landowner, and then the gallery providing their 2 cents, the grid searching, although the grid search is a dog challenge, but it's a handler challenge too, because you don't know that it was grid search there unless you saw the people doing it, but which I guess maybe we do on the elite, but absolutely absolutely challenging. What was I going to say? So Sam, what was? Are you willing to share the feedback that the judges gave you after your line?
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of the same of what I explained, just about, being able to not push my dog. They felt like at times I pushed my dog a little bit, and pulled her off of where she was heading. And it was just, there's bad misjudgment on my side, when we were going through the grid search area, and the way she was handling the wind is I was unsure because she was showing uncertainty to me. When she's uncertain, I feel like I got to search a little bit for her because she does like to win things. And that's been our biggest challenge is when I see her winning things, I think it's great because I know the direction that the scent is, but who knows how far that is, because I don't know how far she can actually win something. And so I don't want her to just go that direction because she may lose it again. And so I started to push her a little bit and helping her kind of just try to find the line. And I ended up pulling her off of the line a few times, I think. And so that was my biggest problem is I was trying to help her more than I ended up hurting her, I think, during the times.
Yeah. Wind is tough.
It is.
Go
Well,
go
if you
ahead.
don't mind, I'm going to back up.
Yeah, please do,
I don't
buddy.
remember how long ago it was, Sam, when you did your UBT test there in Alabama.
The UBT or the ABTA? Because I did.
UBT.
Yeah, UBT. I did that her first year.
That was what?
2022. 2023 was when we did the UBT 1 and 2.
And I know for sure one of them was in the field.
It was.
And yep. I remember you struggled, and it was more you were struggling with her because she was actually, again, back to that grass. You could kind of see parts of the trail, or you could see the trail.
Yeah,
and she was tracking off the trail, but she was paralleling it. But
so she drifted in line.
Yeah. His nerves was getting to him, and I remember this plain as day. His nerves were getting to him, and he was trying to correct her the whole time.
Yeah.
And then finally, in the way it was laid, all he had to do was like pick up his head and look at that point where we were at, and right there it was. And we're all like, we're standing behind him. Me and the other judge were standing behind him, like, oh man, he's got to see this. He got to see this. And he got nervous right there at the end and almost pulled his dog off the line, and then just last second looked up and he was like, yes. I don't know if you remember that, but I know.
I do. Yeah, in the beginning, I felt like I needed to help her. I felt like I knew more than she knew, and I was so wrong, so wrong. She knew a lot more than I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that, man, don't feel like the lone stranger, Sam. We have all been there, and if anybody says they haven't, well, it's just because they haven't tracked long enough, or they're deceiving you. So you would consider, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but just based on what you said, how would you consider the elite test? How would you stack it up against reality?
Yeah. So, I mean, the test is great. I mean, everything, all the challenges we've experienced in the real world, every one of them. I've come across, grid searching. I've come across scent gaps, creek bottoms, long time waits before we tracked, disgruntled tracker, our property owners. You know, I can't think of anything that we experienced that was not something we've dealt with in the past. And the biggest thing is the wind, and one thing with the wind being the way it was in a real track scenario, if somebody would have called me and said, "Hey Sam, I need you to track. Here's the situation. Here's where we are," um, and I looked at the wind and they said this is the only time you could track, I would still go track, but I would tell them ahead of time, with the way the wind's blowing, it's going to be real difficult for me, but I'm going to do my best. If you can let me wait until the evening when it calms down and it's dark and the pressure's lower and the wind's no longer is blowing like it is, we might be more successful. I would try to push them to give me that chance because I know when my dog is not fighting with the wind, her nose hits that ground and she does a great job if it's a dead deer. If it's a live deer, she quickly tells me, "Hey, this is a live deer. Dad, I don't know what you want me to do, but I ain't running this deer." She's done that multiple times. And so I call other people like Shannon and Kyle and
Yeah,
several other trackers in our area, and they're able to do the work that needs to be done. But yeah, I mean, it was fairly consistent to what I've experienced. I don't think there's ever been a real track that has had all of these challenges in one.
yeah,
So that is difficult to have to deal with everything all at once. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely, if you can pass an elite test, you definitely know how to handle your dog. You know how to read your dog. Your dog is definitely one that knows how to, read a line, handle, go through challenges, and is not just an entry level dog. It's something, it's a dog that has had experience in the field in the past. So
has
you're
advanced.
not going to get someone past the elite test unless they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
And,
well,
and the bigger thing than the dog is the handler is mentally prepared.
Correct.
yeah, yeah. Well, you talk about you haven't had a track with the stack up of all of those challenges. Well, we don't call it the average tracker test. It's called an elite
True.
for a reason. So
Absolutely.
and that's great. That I mean, I will tell you, I haven't had yet anyway. Haven't experienced all of the challenges. I guess I kind of have too. I was thinking I haven't had a grouchy landowner. Yes, I did, and had a wonderful conversation with our local law enforcement about it. So I kind of have, but
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's the real deal, and that's one of the things that we really try to focus on is challenging, and this applies to all levels of the test sequence. But focused in reality, you know, challenges that are realistic. I notice I didn't say easy, but realistic. So
Right.
so not being able to cross property and have to figure out how to skirt it, which way to skirt it, and hope you pick it up somewhere. Hopefully the deer exited that property, and you can find that line. The scent gap, the critter distractions. There are things that could be done to make it much, much harder. But if it's not grounded in some version of reality, I
True.
don't know what that proves or disproves.
Yep.
We could say, well, we got to burn off, a 100 by 100 section after we lay I'm being stupid, but you know what I'm saying. I've heard of some lines, people laying lines that I'm like, I don't know what that proves or what that, but by failing it, or I'm not even tests, just people talking about line. You don't know what you accomplished by not completing the line or completing the line. It's like, it just, we've talked several times about, well, deer don't make 90-degree turns. So, that's not, well, sometimes they do,
Oh,
but
yeah. Sometimes they
If
do.
somebody says a deer don't make a 90-degree turn, they ain't never shot enough or hunted enough or tracked
yeah.
enough.
Well, their point is, we'll say, well, we're not training our dog to make 90-degree turns. We're not training to track deer at 90-degree turns. We're introducing problems that the dog has to solve. And the 90-degree turn is just a very basic problem, particularly for younger dogs. So my dog, almost every time, not every time, but very frequently, she's going to overrun the turn. She's going to make a loop, come back and get it. I can show you Garmin after Garmin overlay of even the simplest 90-degree turn on a fresh line where the shithead just, boop, overruns it, loops around, picks it back up. I can count on it. I can tell you in the field, on a real track, watching that red line emerge on the Garmin, if I see a circle start to happen, like, well, the deer probably turned right there, and pretty soon, yep, then the line goes straight in a different direction. It's just almost clockwork, and that's just knowing your dog and understanding how to use your electronics in the training. But that's what all of that stuff is the problem solving. And then as you get deeper into the complexity of the test and the upper tier of the testing, ultimately the elite, now you really got the handler has decisions to make. You start going finished, even at the finished on down, you have to be in tune with your dog, and you have to know what to do if your dog can't get through that scent gap or doesn't sort out the scent puzzle. You've got to have some wherewithal how to manage that, but it's not necessarily handler focused as much. You get to that elite test, and it is more handler focused because you have all of those elements that now require you to make decisions more so than allowing your dog to make the decisions.
Yeah.
As those lower tests. And we preach hard. Hey man, let your dog work, let your dog make decisions. But then it's just that balance of knowing, okay, when is the right time to intervene? We all have to intervene on real tracks. We have to sometimes. And knowing when the right time to insert yourself is, and then knowing how to insert yourself in to help that dog. That's where the real challenges come in. Because
honestly, that was probably the hardest thing with this test is knowing when to intervene, when not to intervene.
Yeah.
From the finish test that we did, where Kenny was, I think you were the one that laid that one for us, right, Kenny? The finish test?
I think so.
Yeah. So, that one, as most people probably are aware, that's about the dog, and the handler does have a little influence there, but you want to see how much that dog can do on a track and how well its nose is. And, and so this track is a little bit, not a little bit, it's much more different. And, granted, I don't know how it would have been if the wind was not such a significant impact. If the wind was laying down like it, like I would have wanted it to be, would I have a different opinion? I don't know. But either way, I'm thankful for the wind because I learned a whole lot through this whole test on my deer, on my dog, and how the dog reacts. And so it's going to help me going forward when we have a high wind situation, how I'm going to be able to read my dog and know when I think she's on it, when she's not, and how to pull her off, and how to maybe adjust things a little bit differently than the way she did this time, because this was a big learning lesson for me.
See, that's where I wanted to go next. But before we do, I presume you're using a Garmin or something, some type of electronics. Yeah. Man, I love my Garmin. I was talking to my buddy Daryl about it today. Just when you really employ it in using it more than just, oh, I wonder where my dog is. You can learn so much in training, and that will absolutely help you in the field. I absolutely love my Garmin system.
Yeah.
But so and maybe you've covered this, Sam, and if you have, that's okay. Just say, man, I've talked about it, but you said you've learned so much, and to me, that's what it's about. That's what I love about doing these live streams, and just the learning, the sharing information. Yeah, Alan chimes in. You know me. That's right, Alan. But just the information sharing, the learning. And knowledge is power, right? No, not in itself. Knowledge is only power if it's applied. If you applied the things you learn. So thinking about that, are you able to talk a little bit more about the lessons learned on this elite test, how you can translate that into either training, how you might incorporate some of those elements in training, and how you might apply it in the real world? It's the application of the learning that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just the way my dog reacted, when she's on a track versus when she's winding the deer, it kind of gives me a little bit of an idea of how I need to maybe step in at that point in time. If I was to go back to where we were running the track and when she actually started jumping up and down, I think I probably would have stopped her and maybe pulled her back to where she wasn't jumping up and down as much, and see if she could actually keep her nose level to the ground and actually keep the scent on the actual ground itself instead of trying to wind it. That would have, if anything, I would have marked that spot as a spot to come back to if we had a
There you
difficult
go.
situation and we couldn't find it. We would at least know to go back to that spot and see if I can get her to pick up on the ground scent and follow it a little better. And so I watched her and her mannerisms and how she was acting, and she wasn't confident. You could definitely tell when she's confident versus when she's not. And something that is kind of separate from my track itself, but I was actually a part of one of the little exercises that Lyle did, where they were laying a track and they did a back track with their dog. And I'd sit there and my dog was, pinned up, and I was just watching everyone else's dog go through. And every dog had a different mannerism when they were on the track versus when they were off the track. Either the tail was pointed at a crook, or the tail was pointed down, or the tail was this, or the way they lifted their head. And so I was like, you know what? I don't think I've ever looked at my dog's tail and look to see what it looks like when it's on a track and when it's actually going. And so on this elite track, I watched her. And so the way she tracked with her tail, I was like, oh, that's a key indicator. I've never picked up on that before. And when I saw her off of it, I saw that her tail was completely different. I'm like, wow, that was new to me. So it's little mannerisms that I never really picked up on that I learned actually during the seminar from other dogs, that you can always look at the dog and there's telltale signs of something that lets you know that they're really on the track versus that they're not truly on the track and they're a little uncertain in how they react. And I was able to pick up on that with my dog, and I'm going to
That's
actually be able to
awesome.
apply that this season when we get out there to say, hey, I know she's on it without a doubt because this is the way she's looking versus whenever she's not quite certain.
Yeah, I'll tell you, judging dogs on these test lines, or just even tagging along with a judge or someone else on a test line and watching the different dogs will make you 10 times the handler.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you learn to read dogs, and
Yeah.
you learn you see the mistakes that everyone makes, and you realize that you're making the same mistakes yourself.
Very true.
Yeah, that's a great one, Sam. I mean, I just I hear people talk about their dogs' tails and in odor and out of odor and this and that. I will tell you, I don't freaking know what my dog's tail's doing. It looks like it's doing the same damn thing all the time, just a curly ass tail up all the
Yeah, I
time.
mean, you got a bloodhound, so
Yeah, so I
Hey,
don't
come
really
on,
need to
Mullins.
worry
That
about
ain't that
reading it.
ain't
I just need to
no.
follow them because that's how good they are. But yeah, I will tell you this. I'm anxious to see how this little Ladner blackmouth cur does. I know her tail about wags her wags her ass off when she finds the prize, and I give her that good girl, man. She about turns herself inside out. So I'm anxious to see just what if there's any tail indicators with this other dog.
Yeah.
But you're talking about the different styles and stuff.
Well, all I know is I'm looking forward to August. I hate failing anything, and so I feel like I failed my dog, and so this time I'm going to learn as much as I can. I'm going to put her on as many mock tracks and pick up any indicators I can, and pray for good weather come August. And
Well,
we're
let's think
passing the
about
thing.
it. So Knoxville, Tennessee, the greater Knoxville area,
Yeah,
probably not the flatland.
that's perfect because that's what I don't track. I don't track in anything flatland today. Everything's always hills and mountains and creek
Yeah,
bottoms.
if you're in northern Alabama, yeah. And hills and mountains, August, so there should be plenty of, I don't know, is it breezy in Tennessee?
It probably won't be terrible. Well, August here is brutal.
It'll be hot. It'll be real hot.
It'll
think
be
it'll be
nice
hot.
there compared to here.
It probably won't be as humid as it is there, Kenny. I'm just my guessing. I don't know if I've ever been to Tennessee in August.
I've been looking at the future cast, and it's it's a long ways out still, but it's looking pretty nice.
I'm
But
excited.
a lot can
about
change
Tennessee.
between now and then.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. I'm excited about Tennessee, Sam. So we'll see what how the judges shake out. But I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll certainly be on the line in some capacity, whether I'm judging it or quality controlling it or crabby landowner or whatever. That'll be fun, man. I look forward to it.
But something I've got to say is, and I love these tests. I feel like they're more for the handler than they are anything else. But you got some of the most elite tracking teams out there that have never gone through a test, and they've just worked it. They've learned and they've done. They track with their dogs. They have hundreds of tracks. And so I think it'd be awesome to see some of them get involved just to learn from them, what they're experiencing and how they handle these tracks that we lay down or the tracks that you guys lay down. Like for instance, Shannon or Kyle, and there's several others in our area. My mind, I'm not great with names. I kind of forget them quite a bit, and then I remember them as soon as I should remember them. But I'd love to see these guys, run tracks because they got some elite level dogs. I mean, it's just pretty neat. So,
Well, I'll tell you this: before I took my first test, well, the dog that I took on my very first test had that season. He had, trying to remember, I'd have to look in over 100 recoveries that season, and had about 600 recoveries in his lifetime, or somewhere in there, 500, something like that. Anyways, we failed miserably. I mean, it was embarrassing.
yeah,
And it was 100% me.
right.
Looking back, and I've only failed one that wasn't me, and I got into a trap and it was in Alabama actually, probably 3-4 years ago. The line went into this I guess you'd say head, because you got the fields and you got the hardwood head there. And when we got in there, something crossed. I'm assuming coyotes, and that dog just shut down.
Mm.
And in a real world scenario, I would have went around that head and tried to pick it back up. But when I went around it to the right, I hit a call back. Went around it to the left, I hit a call back. I said, all right, there's nothing I can do. We're going to have to call it right here.
Yeah.
But honestly, we pushed through that, and it boogered that puppy up. And it was a finish level test. It boogered that puppy up so bad, we were done.
Yeah.
The dog was not prepared for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a bummer. So I just want to comment right here, Corbin. Uh, Inquiring about a finish level test at Allen's potential meet and greet. And we haven't caught up to the comments, we will. But Allen is right, Corbin. Finish tests are only eligible at a sanctioned ABTA event. So,
and it doesn't have to be a seminar event.
no, it doesn't have to be a seminar event. No, but it has to be a sanctioned ABTA testing event.
Yeah.
Yep. So, well, that's great stuff. You know, I was want to say this, Sam. You talked about, you know, just the gritty guys that just have these juggernaut dogs and that don't have any ribbons. And we've said a bazillion times, and we'll say a bazillion more. Ribbon doesn't mean a damn thing, you know. In terms of ability to track deer, we think there's value. The value is in the preparation and stuff. But
Yes.
But Jason, who the name is escaping me. When you were first on, we had somebody who was, you know, not a fan of testing, and then did take a test and was like, "Wow, this is legit." Who was that?
Brian Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. We had him on, I don't know, 3-4 shows ago, after Landon and Jason held a little testing weekend in Alabama earlier this year, and Jason
Actually, that would qualify for a couple of them. Brian Moore, Blake, and Ben, it changed their tune after they went through the test.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of great dogs doing a lot of masterful work that don't have you know, the hardware or the fabric to but the validation is not necessarily you know, the jewelry, but there's it does say something. I think there's credibility in the testing. There absolutely is if you approach it the right way.
Yep.
I wholly believe that. So,
And if nothing else, it's a motivator to keep you going in the off season.
yeah,
Give you something to shoot for in the off season.
that's right. That's a huge part of the value. Is just you know, if it's a goal, now you're getting out and you're doing things with your dog, and you know the old Al Sherman, no time behind your dog is wasted, and I do agree with that. You know, there's something out there, whether you're going for a ribbon or you're going for you know, deer on tailgate, doesn't matter. You know, it's
You can kind of compare it to, you know, a bow hunter that's out there bow hunting deer. You know, you can get a bow hunter that's never gone to a bow competition where he's shooting archery and competing against other people, but yet he kills big old deer all the time. You know, but he may not be the best archer out there. You know, you may have an archer out there, but they don't have the woodsman skills. You know, I don't know if that's a direct comparison in general, but you know, it kind of goes hand in hand in the sense that, you know, you learn how to be a better archer. You're going to be, you know, you add that same person that kills big deer all the time that never gone to an archery tournament. You put him in the same type of testing or same type of training that you would have an archer that goes through competitions, make him even a better archer than he was before. You know, he's going to be even that much more lethal than what he was beforehand. So,
I agree, and I think that is a good comparison. You know, just conceptually, just because you can shoot a bow great doesn't mean you're a good hunter, right?
Yeah.
But a good hunter can often shoot a bow straight. You know.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's cool. Let's snag some comments, Kenny. If there's any that you see that jump off at you, we'll grab them. We won't hit them all, but oh yeah, Wesley says I love my scent shoes, but boy, they got heavy marching in vines and thorns. Yeah, Wesley, were you in Oklahoma talking about vines with thorns? Shannon Blocker says, "Is that Sam McNair?" Why, yes, Shannon, it is.
That's my buddy right there. He's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. Corbin Browning, trust but verify. When we were talking about trusting your dog early on, and
Yep.
I
say that all the time.
Yeah. Trust your dog, but know your dog is the other one, and that's trusting your dog is the hardest thing to do as a new handler. Mike Alguire, I've not attempted, I keep forgetting to post these. I've not attempted the elite tests, but I know on the finish test that Debo done, that was the most realistic test around, except the biscuits and gravy at the end. Debo is yet to find another pile of biscuits and gravy.
So there's a story behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
That's
a good one.
So for years we joked around with Mike about his dogs couldn't track a biscuit, and we nicknamed him the Biscuit Chaser.
Oh, that's funny.
And so then he got Debo, which is a dogo.
Oh, Dogo. Debo the Dogo, huh?
So then one of the fellow trackers said that Debo was the gravy for the biscuits. So at the end of the finish line, we put biscuits and gravy.
That is too funny. Well, so Shannon chimes in with a little bit more color, literally. Between Landon and Jason, there were a bunch of crayons eaten. That was very nice. I don't know why I showed that. That's very funny.
That's all in fun.
I mean, I don't know how y'all call them the crayon eaters. I'm the former Marine, so I'm supposed to be the crayon eater. So, but after spending the weekend with them too, I can believe it.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna say I got no comment for that son of a bitch.
Love you, Jason.
That's too funny. Oh shit!
No, that wasn't to you, Ryan. That was to Shannon.
Okay.
No, I knew where. Yeah, I knew that was directed. Let's see. Lyle talking about Sam's pre-track briefing. We talked about wind gusts. Lyle.
Aaron Birch.
Right. Oh, right here.
Yeah.
This one. Go ahead.
So this is back to the last puppy training episode a few weeks ago. I have a Catahoula and a Plot Hound. Ran a mock track yesterday, 220 yards with 390s. Wind changed and blew through all 90s, went straight to the end. What's y'all's opinion on this? First off, 390s is a lot in 220 yards.
Mm-hmm.
My recommendation, if you're wanting to work on 90s, work on 190 at a time. Lay 3 separate short lines. And honestly, in 220 yards, I wouldn't have more than 190. And the reason I say that is it allows the opportunity for a dog to cheat. And because of wind, if you have 390s, depending on how that line was laid, which there's not really any way you can put 390s 220 yards without creating an opportunity for the dog to win the line ahead of it.
The line is going to parallel at some point. It has to.
Right. So my recommendation is to, in 220 yards, just have 190. Because at the end of the day, you're by doing the 90s is to work on problem-solving skills. So you can isolate that, and you don't need that many to do that. You're better off with just one in the 220 yards and get the same thing. Maybe even lay 250 yards. Do a 75, 90, 75 if that's the stage that you're at, and do 2 of them.
Yeah.
Hey, if I can jump in real quick, and I apologize if there's background noise. I'm having to cook burgers. I'm a little late on cooking dinner for the kids, so I apologize. So I'm
No,
off video. Something that my dogs struggle with quite a bit, and I don't know if anyone else's dogs struggle with this, is false endings. Where when I started my dog tracking and finding mock tracks, I would leave a piece of bone or the foot of the deer that I was using or something that was kind of like the piece of like the leg itself as the end. And we did that for the first 2 years. And so every time she found the piece of bone or the foot, she thought she found it. And so we've been on a few tracks where she found a piece of bone and she shut down because she thought she had found the end of of what we were looking for because she related it to the mock track itself.
that's
And
interesting.
so, yes, I don't know if like this may not be in everybody's scenario, but it was definitely a situation for me. And I was worried that during this elite test that we were going to come across some pieces of bone or something from the deer that would cause her to shut down. And so my first testing with her, and I only had about 2 weeks to prep, to make sure we were good with everything, is I started putting her on false endings. And so I started putting pieces of bone and the leg like midway through the track to see how she would react. And honestly, the first 3 times she almost shut down completely, like she had just found the prize. And the way I reacted to her showed her, of course, that it wasn't, because I just sat there and ignored her and acted like
Yeah.
we didn't do anything. We just said we're just sitting here. Matter of fact, at one point I turned my back to her and waited, and she sat down and laid down. She was like, "All right, I'm done." And so the first time I had to get her back on the track. The second time I waited, she got back on the track herself. And then the third time we ran a mock track, she just smelt it for a few seconds and she moved on. And so that indicated to me that she had succeeded past that challenge, and that was no longer a problem for her. And so something to think about for new trackers that are training their dog is don't use the same ending every single time, and maybe switch it up a little bit and throw the dog in a false ending every now and then, so that she realizes that, hey, there might be pieces of bone, there might be something that she's going to find along this track, whether it's a mock track for a test or whether it's a real track. And that way she doesn't shut down every time.
Yeah, that's certainly good feedback, Sam. And I'm trying to remember. I think I had that one time. Something happened. I dropped something or something. And I'm like, oh no, she's gonna think she found it. But it's not something that I've experienced. But I've never put intentionally used anything between the hit point and the end spot either personally. So that's a good tip and something to be mindful of for sure.
Which we do on test lines.
Yeah, sure. The advanced level stuff. Let's grab Travis Muncie's here. Travis says, "Nice topic tonight. Been needing to hear some of this to step me and my dog's tracking skills up. I never lay my lines for the dogs. The wife always does, so I only know the start spot. So you're running blind tracks. So we try to keep the practice runs as realistic as possible. Good stuff, y'all. Well, thanks, Travis. Yeah, blind tracks are certainly good, but there is value in running a known line too, whether you lay it or not. If it's marked, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, it always boils down to what are you trying to accomplish. But I will tell you this: I wish I ran blind tracks earlier in my career than we did. I was a little intimidated by it. Didn't want people to know that my dog, it was just silly. I wish I'd have done it sooner, but blind tracks are great. Yeah, Alan says this is what Corbin was talking about. We'll likely hold another trackers meet and greet this year and possibly bring in some of the judges and give some ribbons. So So Alan's looking at maybe having another little testing weekend. Alan, so sanction me when we talk about the finish needing to be run at a sanctioned ABTA event. You know, we'll chat, Alan. Let's see. Corbin says shooting for a finish in August at Tennessee. Come on, baby, do it. Let's do it. What are you waiting on? Yeah, and here's a big part of it right here. The fellowship is great at the event, seeing folks you haven't seen such since last year, or meeting new folks. And yes, I can read. I just read like I'm a third grader. Yeah, you know, and I will tell you, I think that's huge, because I have said it's no secret, you know, that I consider the tracking world a very divisive group of people, you know, with pockets of great people. In general, we seem to be very divisive. I don't hide it. I don't pretend it doesn't exist. I think we're lying to ourselves if we say it doesn't exist. So any time that, you know, we can be together and not be critical of one group of another group, or one person's style over another person's style, and just acknowledge the fact that we are all doing the things that we love to do in the ways that we love to do it. And all of our goals, when you boil it down, we are all out there for the same reason, and that's to help Hunter and the love of and the love of working dogs, you know. So Brian, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, anytime we, you know, fellowship is huge, and there needs to be more of that. Yes, now I'm on my stump. Now I'm preaching, and hate me if you want to, but that I just feel very strongly about that.
I'll knock you off your stump for a minute, Matt. That is my favorite part of this. Being able to network with other people, go to the events, meet other people, and we all know we're providing a common thing. We're helping hunters. So that's probably one of my favorite things, other than watching my dog work. I love watching a dog work. I've done it since I was a kid, so I've always loved it.
Yeah.
But the networking with other people, that's probably my second favorite.
You know, when we started the Florida Blood Trailing Network, I don't even know how many years ago it's been now. Long time. Our motto, or our slogan, was hunters helping hunters.
Yep.
Right.
And we've got, Ryan will tell you, we've got a very, very good, tight-knit network here in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong, we have our differences. But you let one of us, something happen, one of us go down, one of us need help, we all pull together, every one of us.
Somebody will be there for you. Somebody will be we'll be on the way. That's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's about, man. It's just I don't know. I get pretty passionate about it. Sometimes I get pretty upset about it. So I won't comment much more, but because you guys are right. I agree. Jared. Hell, biscuits and gravy. I'd probably throw my nose to the wind and track it down. How do you not like biscuits and gravy, man? Oh, that's funny. Oh, let's see. What's Wesley saying here? I accidentally left the hoof on her last line midway, and my dog stopped tracking for a few minutes on me. Took some encouragement to get back going. You know what? Now that I'm reading Wesley's comments, not last weekend, not just this last weekend, but weekend before, I ran a line, and and I ran the puppy on the line Saturday, and I took an old, used up hoof that I was done using, and took it back there and let the puppy gnaw on it for a while. And typically I bring that stuff back up. I left it out there. I forgot about it. And it just so happened the line I laid for Brew then went right by that. So she found that darn hoof, and it was 50 or 60 yards from the end. She found that hoof. She looked at me for a minute, stood there kind of, nuzzling around the hoof, then realized, well, I guess that's not it. She came back on the line and finished it to the end. But so I guess I have done that. What Wesley reminded me. Oh, here we go. Perry says a bone on a track is like Viagra for my dog. Must be it makes the dog taller, I guess. What does Perry makes your dogs taller?
Oh, they love a leg shot.
Yeah, well, because the race is on, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Travis talking about the blind tracks. When I started blind tracks, they scared the hell out of me, but that's growing with the dog, and I think it's great stuff, man. Yeah, so I agree, Travis. But blind tracks are a ton of fun, especially as you become more confident and you realize that you don't have anything to prove, and it's all about learning and having fun and getting better. Blind tracks are a ton of fun.
Oh,
But,
no doubt it is. That's something I was wanting to say to people. If you have somebody that can lay your lines for you to where you don't know what you're getting into, that's a good idea.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you can just be like me and go lay the line. Don't take your Garmin. You're going to forget where you laid the line anyways, because I forget what I did this morning.
I've done that more than once, man.
You got me there, Kenny, because I'd be the same way.
I've done that before too. I'd lay a line.
I might even forget what road I was on.
Yeah, that's funny. Good stuff for sure. Well, guys, I think we're there, man. I always a fun discussion when we're talking about testing and lessons learned and applying it and all of that stuff. So, Sam, I appreciate you coming on. Ryan, I appreciate you coming on and sharing. Kenny, I'm glad you can make it, buddy. It's always fun being able to kick stuff around. Hold on. Let's read Perry's statement back. What is he saying? Maybe I don't want to show it. Matt, back to your statement about your pup finding the old foot, thinking the track was over. Have you ever been on a track where the guy shot 2 or 3 times and get there and it's 2 or 3 blood trails?
I have.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had that scenario. I have been to where there's been multiple deer shot. I didn't find either one of them.
Those are so tough. That quick story, I got called to one, and the deer were shot opposite sides of the stand. And what happened? They ran off and intersected.
Oh, of course they did.
Oh, great!
So we had to work through that.
Perfect.
Well, then it got worse. Then both trails came together, and were literally side by side within a couple of yards of each other. And then one of them peeled back and circled it again. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, I bet. Now, so the comments are coming in. I can't let them go. So Beck says situational training like that is good to reinforce leave it command. I will pick up roadkills and strategically place it. I will then run the training line within 25 to 50 yards of the carcass. I will tell you this. I think in many ways, I have been pretty lucky and pretty fortunate with my superior bloodhound, because they're a superior breed. But we've tracked right over top of dead deer before, and in real life, and she never thought that was the end. One of them literally was another bow shot that you could see the arrow in it, and I said, "Oh, that guy needed me 3 weeks ago." She tracked right over that deer. I don't even think she stopped and put her nose on it. I was really surprised by that. But Mike is right. putting something out there. And Superior, great lab if you want Superior. No, sorry, Jared.
No, he
Lab.
got a ladder curve, so he's good.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm talking about you.
Oh, yeah. I do have a Ladner curve. Yeah. Yep. I do have a Ladner curve. I love her to death, man. I'll tell you this. I'm stepping back a little bit. Kenny, you remember when we talked about that and just letting the dog tell you when they're ready? And obviously you with Haas, you kind of found that moment. I'm stepping back. Rizzo still is way too easily distracted right now, and just she'll do it. But it's I'm going to step back and just get more woods exposure and just do puppy stuff. Wait a couple weeks. Yeah, she does. I will tell you this. Obviously, I want her to mow down a line like it's nobody's business, but I know realistically that's just not how it works. I'm not the least bit concerned about this. She's going to be fine, and she's going to track just fine. Just different pace. So, okay, one more comment here.
We already did that one.
Oh, we already did that one. Okay, cool. Yep. All right, guys. I think we're there. So again, Sam and Ryan, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Kenny, glad you can make it.
Thank
Lyle,
you, guys.
if you're listening, thanks for joining as much as you can. And we will kick it around. We'll see what next week brings. It's harder and harder to get these really cool topics. So not next week, but I mean next 2 weeks from now. If someone has something that you're particularly interested in and we can make it a topic, we will send me a note and we'll see what we can do. Otherwise, I think I'm leaning towards next week being, unless I can get Tanya if she's ready yet, but if not, it'll probably just be campfire. It'll be a participant driven conversation, open forum. Throw a topic in the chat and we'll kick it around. So
it was good talking to y'all tonight. Glad y'all had me on.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So
See y'all
enjoyed it,
next
guys.
week. I may have to work, but I'll pop in from time to time.
Sounds good, guys. Yeah, we'll sign off, man. More the good, less the bad. We'll see you guys. Thank you.
All right, take care.